Welcome to the deep dive. Have you ever stopped to think that there might be a financial entity out there, maybe operating a bit more quietly, that's actually, well, even more aggressive, more direct, maybe less forgiving than the IRS?
hmm
Today we're exploring this exact scenario where that familiar federal tax agency, the IRS, isn't the only player, maybe not even the main predator people should watch out for.
That's exactly right. Our deep dive today takes us into the often sort of unseen world of state tax collection.
Okay.
We're focusing specifically on California's Franchise Tax Board, the FTB.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, this agency has picked up a pretty striking nickname, CaliClaw.
CaliClaw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll get into why it's earned that formidable name and what makes its tactics so different and, frankly, often terrifying for taxpayers.
Okay, so our mission today is really to pull back the curtain on this CaliClaw. We want to reveal its specific methods, its escalation paths, the surprisingly common traps it sets. And we're drawing from a really compelling personal account, someone who actually became its prey. The goal for you listening is to walk away not just informed, but, genuinely forewarned, equipped with knowledge about a crucial but honestly often misunderstood part of state finance. This could be really invaluable.
Definitely.
So our source material kicks off with something I think a lot of people can probably relate to. For years, the author, like so many others, focused all their worry on the IRS.
Uh-huh. The big federal agency?
Exactly. Only to get found first by something described as far more vicious. And that's this California Franchise Tax Board, which earned the nickname CaliClaw just through, well, sheer ruthless efficiency.
Yeah.
The author talks about their own, 8-year tax nightmare, a period with unfiled returns, fully expecting the IRS to be the one knocking.
Right. Waiting for that shoe to drop.
And then, boom, shocked when CaliClaw beat them to it, and with just devastating speed.
And I think the single most critical insight here really is this. Unlike the IRS, which, it's structured around a process, negotiation, resolution.
Payment plans, offers and compromise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
CaliClaw is described as, well, a pure collection machine. It's designed for swift action, not really for long discussions. This means proactive compliance, immediate response. Those are basically your main defenses. Because negotiation, the kind you might expect with the IRS, it's generally not on the table in the same way.
Okay, so given this reputation for swift, brutal efficiency, what's often the first, maybe the most painful way people even realize they're a target? What does that initial, devastating first encounter usually look like?
Almost always. It's sudden wage garnishments. Our sources are just full of these heartbreaking calls, people saying, they garnished my wages out of nowhere, no warning, no notice, nothing.
Wow.
And it's not really an exaggeration for how it feels. It's like a shockwave hitting their finances, seemingly without any prior explanation they recognized.
And the mechanics behind that are pretty stark, right? CaliClaw doesn't need to, ask permission or go through long court battles.
No. It reaches directly into an employer's payroll system and just claws out 25% of your gross wages.
25% gross, not net.
Gross. And critically, it's not a one-time thing. It's every single month, relentlessly, until that entire debt is paid off.
Which is such a contrast to the IRS, which usually sends, multiple letters, offers plans.
Right. There's a much longer runway, typically, before they get to something that drastic. CaliClaw's approach is far more immediate.
And the emotional toll you mentioned,
Yeah.
the source material really paints a picture.
Oh, absolutely. It talks about shattered financial security, marriages cranking under the pressure, kids asking why there's no money for groceries.
Heartbreaking.
It really is. It's not just the money itself. It's the dignity, the stability, that complete loss of peace of mind. It's profound.
Now, it might be easy to think such an aggressive strike is just random, bad luck. But the sources are clear. CaliClaw isn't disorganized. It's methodical.
Yes, very systematic, almost surgical, like you said. It operates with this defined four-strike escalation pathway.
Okay, a sequence.
Exactly. But the crucial point is you have to know what you're looking for to even recognize it. The warnings are sent, technically.
Oh, but they're missed.
They're easily misunderstood or just missed entirely.
Right, and that sudden brutal strike you described, it's tragically accurate, but what's really critical is why these seemingly clear warnings get missed so often. Sometimes it's misinterpreting how serious they are, or, like we're about to discuss, a huge oversight in where they're even being sent.
Precisely. So let's break down that sequence. And for you listening, try to imagine getting these letters or notices.
Yeah.
Understanding this system is vital.
Okay.
First, strike one, the friendly notice of tax due. This is the initial reach out. It's often quite polite, just a reminder.
Easy to dismiss.
Very. Many people think it's junk mail or, I'll deal with that later. But this is CaliClaw marking your sent. First sign you're on the radar.
Okay, strike one. Then what?
Strike two, demand for payment. Now the tone sharpens considerably. This is CaliClaw showing its claws, basically testing if you'll engage or keep ignoring it. That polite tone? Gone.
Getting serious.
Definitely. Then comes strike three. Final notice before levy. This is the absolute critical point. The source calls it the final, unambiguous warning before seizure.
The last chance saloon.
Pretty much. And what's really striking here is that most people who later scream, no warning, they actually got this letter.
They just didn't get it.
They didn't grasp the gravity. They didn't understand the immediate danger it signaled for their paycheck or bank account.
Wow. Okay, and the final step.
Strike four. The kill shot, the earnings withholding order. It's game over at this point for stopping the immediate garnishment. CaliClaw sends the order straight to your employer.
So your boss knows, HR knows.
Everyone in payroll knows. And you. You find out when your paycheck is suddenly 25% lighter. And that's not just financial pain. It can make your struggles public at work. Adds a whole other layer of stress.
Yeah, that's brutal. And that point you made about warnings being missed, even when sent. It perfectly sets up this thing called the address trap. We hear about this constantly. Sarah's story, swearing she got no letters before that $1,600 garnishment. But it's a stark example. How does CaliClaw use this?
Right, the address trap. It basically exploits a key part of CaliClaw's own rules. It only has to mail notices to your last known address that they have on file.
Ah, the one they have, not necessarily where you actually are.
Exactly. So legally, they can say, yep, you were warned, due process observed. But practically, for the taxpayer, it often feels like a complete ambush because the letter went somewhere else entirely.
And the examples in the source material really drive this home. Imagine notices going to an ex-husband's place during a nasty divorce.
And he's just tossing the mail. Yep.
Or to an old college dorm room years after graduation because someone forgot to update the FTB specifically.
Or someone moves for a new job, updates their driver's license, maybe utilities, but forgets the franchise tax board.
Or even an ex-partner intercepting mail. All these scenarios, they lead to the same outcome. Warnings sent, but never received by the person who needed to see them.
The legal box is ticked, but the actual notification just fails completely.
It really raises a question, doesn't it? How many of us are truly diligent about updating every single state agency every time we move?
It's a huge blind spot. You think about the DMV, the post office maybe, but the state tax board. It's often overlooked.
Yeah.
And that oversight can lead straight into this trap with these devastating, totally unforeseen consequences.
Okay, let's shift focus a bit. Another aggressive tactic, targeting bank accounts. When CaliClaw does this, it moves like a, financial assassin. So what does this mean for your savings, your checking account?
Yeah, the timeline for bank levies is incredibly short. Frighteningly short, really. Day one, CaliClaw sends an order to withhold straight to your bank.
Okay.
Now, for the next 10 days, days 1 through 10, your account is frozen solid. You cannot touch your money, can't pay rent, can't buy groceries, nothing.
10 days of total freeze.
Total freeze. Then, day 11 hits, and CaliClaw drains whatever amount they're claiming right out of the account. 10 days. That's your entire window.
That is incredibly fast.
It's designed to give you minimal time to react, to find help, to do anything, really.
And the source shares this harrowing example, Miguel. His account frozen on a Friday evening.
Yeah, Friday evening. And the money in there was specifically for his daughter's medical procedure scheduled for that Monday.
Oh, my God.
CaliClaw doesn't care about your weekend plans or your family emergencies. It created this weekend nightmare where they had no access to funds needed for a critical health issue. They had to scramble with emergency paperwork just to try and get it released.
That Miguel story, it just highlights the human cost, doesn't it? How does an agency justify that kind of immediate, unyielding power over someone's essential funds?
It really connects to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
The immense power state agencies can wield over personal finances. It shows how a rigid bureaucratic process can just steamroll individual circumstances with devastating immediate effects. There's often very little room for nuance or empathy in that moment.
Okay, brace yourself, because maybe the most alarming tactic we found is CaliClaw's ability to literally create debt, even when you are absolutely certain you owe nothing. The source mentions Janet's story.
Right, Janet?
CaliClaw says, I owe $8,400 for 2021, but I was unemployed all year. I didn't make any money. How on earth is that even possible?
Okay, this is where CaliClaw uses something called a substitute for return, or SFR process.
Substitute for return.
Yeah, if you don't file a required California tax return, CaliClaw doesn't just, wait patiently. It basically steps in and plays God with your financial life.
How?
First, it estimates your income. And crucially, this estimate is often way, way higher than what you actually earned, if anything.
Based on what? Previous years.
Yes.
Guesses.
It can be based on previous filings, third-party information like 1099s that might not tell the whole story, or sometimes it seems like, less precise methods. Then it files a return for you.
Okay.
But, and this is key, it files with 0 deductions. The worst possible tax scenario. It calculates taxes on this completely phantom income.
Phantom income. I like that term.
And then it starts collection actions, wage garnishments, bank levies on this debt that you might never have actually owed in the first place because you never earned the underlying income.
And Janet's story wasn't a one-off, right? The source had other examples.
Absolutely. There was Tom, who CaliClaw said earned $60,000 one year. He actually made $12,000 part-time.
Big difference.
Huge. Lisa assigned $50,000 in income during a year she was going through cancer treatment and had literally 0 income.
Unbelievable.
And Robert hit with a $75,000 income assessment for a year. He was deployed overseas with a military income that wasn't even taxable by California in the first place.
And all of them faced actual collection, garnishment.
Yes. Wage garnishments, bank freezes, the works. For taxes they never owed on income they never made, all generated by this SFR process.
So connecting this to the bigger picture, this isn't just some bureaucratic error. It's the state actively creating real collectible debt from thin air.
Exactly.
Yeah.
With potentially life-ruining consequences for people who might not even realize what's happening until their paycheck disappears, unless it's actively and very specifically challenged.
And the source mentions that challenging it works, like with Janet.
Yes, that's the crucial counterpoint. In cases like Janet's, simply filing her actual 2021 return, the one showing 0 California income, made that $8,400 phantom debt completely vanish.
So the truth can fight the phantom income.
It can, but you have to know how to fight it and you have to act.
Yeah.
Accurate information is the weapon against these constructed realities.
This whole deep dive isn't just theoretical analysis. Our source author's own journey, that CaliClaw origin story, you mentioned that 8-year nightmare, it really delivered a critical insight, didn't it?
It really did.
Don't assume government agencies all play by the same rules. State tax bodies can be profoundly different, often much more aggressive than their federal counterparts. It demands a unique kind of vigilance that, frankly, textbooks just can't teach you.
That's precisely it. That personal experience, being the prey, it reinforces the core takeaway. A state agency can operate by different rules, wield different powers, and maybe show less interest in the kind of taxpayer rights or negotiation processes you might associate with federal law.
Right.
And that hard-won knowledge, learned the hard way, it became the foundation for understanding how you even begin to fight back effectively against these aggressive tactics.
So wrapping this up, what does all this mean for you, our listener? We've just unpacked CaliClaw, the California Franchise Tax Board. We've looked at its aggressive wage garnishments.
Those easily missed warning notices in that 4-strike sequence.
The really deceptive address trap.
The incredibly swift bank account freezes.
And maybe most shocking, this power to create debt from, as the source calls it, phantom income.
Yeah. And the critical distinction that keeps coming up is how these state-level tactics can be so much more direct, less forgiving, and less open to negotiation compared to what people might expect from the IRS.
Right.
Which really raises an important question for everyone, not just Californians. While we tend to focus so much on federal taxes, on the IRS, what hidden creditors might be lurking in your own state's financial agencies?
Good question.
And what level of proactive vigilance, of really paying attention, is needed to protect yourself and your family's financial security from something similar?
Absolutely. Understanding these unique state-specific collection methods, it isn't just about dodging a potential tax nightmare in one state. It's about recognizing the diverse, sometimes surprisingly powerful ways government agencies at all levels can impact your financial life. So as you go about your day, maybe mull that over. Think about what you've heard, its implications beyond California. Be informed, stay vigilant, and thank you for diving deep with us today.